in the very beginning, more than 40 years ago, as a young person of the theater, I was interested in improvisation. So what excited me was the idea of stepping onto a stage with nothing prepared. Mm-hmm. And the idea of playback theater seemed like a possibility because we could invite people to tell their stories and have the challenge of how to embody this on the stage with no preparation. So it was an artistic challenge, but also from the very beginning, I had this deep interest in giving anyone the possibility to tell their story, even people who were perhaps at the margins of society, even people who had stories that were so difficult nobody wanted to hear them. So this is a kind of human rights purpose, and that was there from the beginning, and it has stayed all these years and become, if anything, more and more important. Does playback always work? Of course not. It doesn't work if the group or the audience is very, very afraid or mistrustful or doesn't dare expose even their smallest story in front of the others. It doesn't work if the performers are to lose the balance of what they're trying to do. So, of course, it works better sometimes than others. But I have to say, over all these years and in so many places, much of the time, when people see that there is an atmosphere of respect and that the performers are sincere, they want to tell. They raise their hands and it moves forward. So playback theater is improvisational. It's spontaneous. And that means that we never know, and the audience never knows what will happen. And if I am thinking of being a teller, will they be able to do my story, my chaotic, crazy story? Maybe it will make them all crazy too. And so it's very easy to become anxious. And so we need a structure. So we in playback theater call this structure the ritual. And we do the basic movement forward the same way each time. From story to story, we have a framework that stays the same. So within that, when people spontaneously decide what to say, they can know that there's a safety and they can feel comfortable to tell and know that their story will be contained and there will be a beginning and an end. At the very beginning, we had no idea of the ritual or the structure. And slowly, as we focused on the artistic questions, we came to understand that, well, that was part of it, but there was another part of it that was very important. How we sat on the boxes, how we invited the audience, how the teller sat down again after they finished, that all of this was very, very important part of it. And if we didn't do this in a good way, people wouldn't respond. And so we practiced, we started to practice, how do we sit, and this kind of thing. And it's not easy at all, because you can't do it in an artificial way, you have to do it in an authentic way. And so you have to be sitting there as yourself, but also a little bit shamanic. And so slowly we learned how to conduct the ritual and make the performance like a ceremony that always moved forward. And the experience of the teller like a rite of passage, so that they would be come back afterwards and hopefully be transformed. I would say I often think of it as a 5-year period, this period of kind of development, before we were ready to really begin to send it out. So it took about 5 years. But of course it's been developing over all these years, and as playback theater spreads throughout the world, people in different groups, in different countries, in different cities make their own contributions, and slowly some of these filter to others and we all learn together.
Mm.
In thinking about my hopes for the future for playback theater, I think about two areas. One is within the playback theater world. My hope is that more and more people have a chance to be tellers. That is to say, even people who might not be able to come to a workshop or might not even have the money to come to an open performance of playback theater, that the playback theater community can find more and more ways to bring the possibility of playback to the public at large. That's my hope for the playbackers. And my hope beyond playback is that more and more people can appreciate the importance of telling stories and telling personal stories, and that in our social institutions there's more space for what I call narrative reticulation. Well, it's very hard for me to say what I'm proud of. I know that it's been so rewarding. Well, I think of two things. One is all the stories. I've learned so much from hearing the stories of people, and what moves me the most is to go somewhere far away and people who have never heard of this respond by telling stories that are so enriching to hear. So to bear witness to the stories of ordinary people everywhere. I'm proud that I've been part of a method that has enabled that to happen. And I would also say that I'm very happy that I've been able to have colleagues and work with my original company, first my partner, Joe Salas, and the original company, and then a wider and wider circle of others who have similar values of supporting humanity and promoting justice in giving people a chance to tell their truth. I'll say something more. It has to do with this project. And, I haven't actually been able to see a performance, but I have a great deal of respect for what the Gedicht Company has done in reaching out to people who may not have a good chance to tell their story, and whose story is so big and strong in them, and who have undergone such a huge transition. So I feel it's very important for them to have this chance, and that it will help make it possible for them to adjust and integrate into a new world.
Thank you.